Hi everybody, my name is Megan. I'm the Farm to School educator at CCE in Essex County. I'm really happy that I could put together these meal kits for you to cook some great local food at home with your families. Today I'm going to show you how to make Bubble and Squeak. It has a funny name, but it's actually a really common dish from Britain or England. It's made of mashed potatoes and some sort of vegetable. Today we're going to use cabbage. It's a pretty plain and easy, simple dish, but I'm going to give you some suggestions on how you can liven it up and make it your own based on what you and your family like. Today we're using cabbage and potatoes from Juniper Hill Farm in Westport, which is an organic, diversified vegetable farm growing vegetables on over 100 acres, so it's a pretty big operation. We're going to be using knives and baking this dish in the oven, so make sure you're doing this with a parent or guardian, and let's get started. Here are all the ingredients we'll be using. In your bag, you should have cabbage, potatoes, onion, and some garlic. From your own kitchen, you'll need butter, salt, and pepper. If you don't have butter or you're dairy-free, feel free to substitute with any oil of your choice. Before we do anything with our vegetables and with cooking, we need to do two things. We need to first wash our hands, so go ahead and do that. Warm soapy water, at least 30 seconds. And then we need to preheat our oven to 400 degrees Fahrenheit. So go ahead and do that and then find me back here. While your oven's preheating, we're going to prep all the vegetables. We'll start with the potatoes first. When chopping vegetables, you always want to try and make a flat side so that it won't roll away or move while you're chopping it. There's also a technique to holding a knife shown in these pictures, and you'll see the way that I do it in the rest of the video. Okay, back to the potatoes. If you prefer mashed potatoes without peels, then feel free to peel them here. You can see I'm not doing that here because I like them either way. So if you want to leave the peels on, you just have to make sure you scrub them clean. After they're clean, you're going to dice them into 1-inch cubes, just like I'm doing here. When I lift them up in this video, I'm just checking to make sure there aren't any bad spots in them. Once you're done dicing your potatoes, put them in a medium pot filled with water 2 inches above the potatoes, and cover the pot and place it on the stove. Turn the heat on high and bring the water to a boil. Once boiling, remove the lid from the pot and turn the heat down so the water is simmering. Let the potatoes simmer for 10 to 15 minutes. While your potatoes are simmering, you can get started on prepping your other vegetables. First, we're going to start with the onion. It needs to be cut into thin slices. So you'll see here I am peeling it, and then I'm going to cut off the top and bottom root ends of the onion so I have flat surfaces. Like we mentioned earlier, flat surfaces are really helpful for cutting vegetables. So my top and bottom are cut off, and I'm just going to peel the outer layers. With onions, it's always good to peel one more than you think, because if it's a little bit mushy or rotten, it can really ruin your whole dish. Okay, so now that I'm done peeling, I'm going to place the onion down on one of the flat sides. Getting all the peels out of the way, I'm going to cut it from root to root end so that I have 2 more flat sides. Place one of them down. Make sure you're using your claw for your knife, and start slicing in an up and down motion so that you can get half moon slices is what you're going for. Now that we're done with the onion, we'll move on to the garlic. In the same way, you're going to cut the root end off the top and bottom of the garlic clove. This again makes it easier to peel. Usually when you've done that, a bit of the peel is removed, as you can see here, so I can just go with my fingers. If you're struggling with your peel, you can use a knife. Just be very careful not to cut your fingers. Place it down on the flat side of the cutting board, and in a similar way to the onion, you're going to slice the garlic into thin slices. And be careful of your fingers when you get to the end. Now that you've got your thin slices, we're going to work on dicing them. First, you'll go through and make another slice out of those dice. And again, I'm using the claw on my hands. And then when you're done with that, make sure all the garlic is on the cutting board, and you'll go through cutting the other way so that you make cubes. And from here, you can really just go in a fanning motion back and forth from left to right until you have about an even dice of the garlic. It doesn't need to be perfect, so do what you can. And at this point, you can keep your fingers on top of the knife so that they stay out of the way as you do that fanning motion to chop the garlic. Lastly, we'll chop the cabbage. I'm starting with half a cabbage here, but you'll first want to cut your cabbage in half so you have a flat side to place down on your cutting board. Peel off any of the outer leaves that might not look so great if they might be brown or wilty, and then place the flat side down on your cutting board. First you're cutting it in half, then you're cutting it into quarters. Then you're going to remove the core. You can place the core down on the cutting board and slice in a diagonal motion to cut it off. Then what you'll do is put the flat side of the cabbage back down on the board and slice from left to right on the longer side of the cabbage. Place the sliced cabbage in a bowl and set it aside. By now the potatoes should be done cooking. You can poke them with a fork to see how soft they are. If they're soft enough to be mashed, you can strain them into a colander into your sink. Be careful when you're doing this because both the pot and the steam are going to be very hot. Leave them to drain and cool in your sink while you move on to cooking the rest of the vegetables. Back on the stove, we've got a large skillet over medium heat, and we've added 1 tablespoon of butter, which is melting. Once melted, we're going to add the onions and cook them until they're at least translucent, but if you'd like to cook them a little more, you can let them brown. This will take about 3 to 5 minutes, but will depend on the type of stove that you have. Next, we're going to add the garlic and let it cook until it starts smelling fragrant, which only takes about a minute. Garlic can burn really easily and quickly, so make sure you keep an eye on it and stir it frequently. Finally, we're going to add the cabbage slices, a pinch of salt, and a pinch of black pepper, and allow the cabbage to brown. If you leave them in place in the pan, they'll get nice and brown a bit faster, so you don't have to stir them constantly. Since the cabbage is going to bake in the oven, you don't need to make sure it's super soft, just let it get a nice brown color on it. After about 5 minutes, this is the color that we're looking for. Then I put my mashed potatoes in a large bowl and I added the cabbage, onion, garlic mixture to it. Stir it up pretty well so that all the cabbage is coated with some mashed potato, and then taste it for salt and pepper. If it's not salty enough, add a little more. And at this point, you can add in any add-ins that you want. So this dish goes really nicely with some shredded cheddar cheese or some cooked bacon. Feel free to leave it plain. I left mine plain, or you can add those extra things in. You're going to grease an oven-safe pan with butter or cooking spray, and you can use any number of pans, an 8 by 8 inch square pan or 8 or 9 inch cake pan, even a 9-inch pie plate. Use whatever you have. And so put the mixture, the potatoes and the cabbage, into the greased pan, and you're going to cook it in a 400-degree oven for about 20 minutes until the top is crispy. And once it's cooked, it can be served with fried or scrambled eggs, a little salad on the side. You could put hot sauce on it if you like. Or you can jazz it up however you think would be good. So now it's done cooking. I would let it cool for a few minutes and then enjoy. Thanks for joining us, and I hope you enjoy your Bubble and Squeak.